throughout my 20s, I was broke, not poor. I was always broke. I was stealing toilet roll from pubs. Like, I was broke. I was properly broke. But there was only so far I could fall because ultimately my parents would catch me. And I think, like, that plays out in various ways. Brooklyn Beckham's the extreme example of that, is that he can take risks. You know, and that has a financial implication.
Fail culture that bleeds over from American tech businesses. I kind of have an issue with, of like, oh, you got to fail 20 times. I'm like, whose money are you running? You know, and I think a lot of like these tech founders, these people that moved, there's a lot of family money behind them as well. You know, they say the first round is family and friends. I couldn't go to a mate and go give me 100 grand to start like the Uber for socks or whatever it is. You know what I mean? It's kind of, I think that it feeds into a lot of things. And then people who don't have that hear that and think, oh, I need to fail 10 times before I can be successul, kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you know, I think you're so right. The whole lionizing of entrepreneurs as the sort of, you know, if you're under 30, you want to start a business, not a band these days, right? There's a sort of like sexiness about entrepreneurship that frankly wasn't there in the 80s or even the 60s, certainly. And it's because we have access to technology, the ability to start a business, buy and sell stuff that people are willing to buy off of us. I think you're right. The truth behind that is a lot of those titans of business are bankrolled, certainly
Bill
in the
Gates
early
is
years.
very wealthy family.
Or, you know, Zuckerberg. I don't know if Steve Jobs was.
Steve Jobs was home, but he was adopted and was like, yeah, he did book the trend. And
and Elon Musk, I mean, he must have.
I mean, his dad owned an emerald mine or something, which sounds pretty good. My mum's never had an emerald mine. Yes. I mean, I don't know. It's the problem is these people hide it. Again, why is the shame? Why is there that thing of like, this is where I'm from and this is what I've done, or I've had this help? Because I think there's something in going, I inherited 10 million, turned it into 200 billion. Okay, fair. Pretty good. Pretty solid effort.
Yeah.
But like, why is there such shame around admitting that you've had parental help? Do you feel shame about it?
I don't feel shame about anything. I'm a legend, mate. I don't know the meaning of the word shame, mate. No, I mean, I definitely know what you mean, though. Like, you do get people, especially in university, like, people will be like, oh, your parents bought you a car. Oh, I wish my parents bought me a car. And I'm like, it's a Honda. It's not like they bought me a Bugatti or something. Whereas I do have friends who got like a G-Wagon Mercedes from their parents. And I'm looking at them like, they got you a G-Wagon. That's ridiculous. So it's just like different strokes for different folks. If I could afford to get my son a G, I probably wouldn't, to be fair. Because it was spoiling. But I do want to give my son his first car. So I do understand it completely. The way I work for my kid, like, he motivates me to work harder. So I'm not going to not splurge loads of money on him. I'm going to give him whatever he wants. But I do see what you say, like my neighbours, they're from Thailand, half Thai, half Polish, and their son and his girlfriend just moved back home for like a year so they can save money for their first house. And like, it's not like they're getting money, but they're saving a year's worth of rent so that they can then afford a deposit. And when you're living in West London, it's hard to save for deposit and be paying rent at the same time. Yeah. So I do understand it. And like, everyone's got different. Do you know, it's
interesting. There's a man in the book called Tom who I interviewed who had this idyllic childhood in Guildford, Surrey, you know, private schooling, Oxford, both parents were barristers, you know, huge country house, very gilded childhood. And he left Oxford to pursue his passion to become an actor. And his mother had a flat in Zone 1, very nice, that he was able to stay at rent-free. And I said, did you earn any money in your 20s and 30s when you were trying to be an actor? And he was like, yeah, but it was sort of like for sort of pocket change, basically.
Supper.
I was like, okay, so anyway, what happened was 8 years trying to become an actor. He didn't succeed, right? And he eventually met his future wife, who was from no money, no bank of mum and dad, nothing, but incredibly savvy with money. She'd managed to save £40,000 literally just through being really rigid and kind of like, you know, diligent about money. And at the time, his parents basically stopped supporting him. And he was like, shit. I'm marrying this person who is really financially independent and sensible. And my financial habits have been completely infantilized by my parents. And he said to me, I really wish someone had said, what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't you realise how privileged you are? But also, do you realise that actually the years you're wasting trying to pursue this dream?
Yeah.
And he said, I really wish that I had not been supported by my parents as much as I had been. And he said, he now has a son. He works on a good wage, but not an amazing wage. And he said, I cannot recreate the life that my parents gave me. And it bothers me. It bothers me because I squandered that privilege. And it's extraordinary. If you look at like the transfers of wealth across generations, by and large, it lasts 3 generations. Right. By the time it reaches the 3rd, it's gone.
My parents always told me that. They're like, yeah.
So there's something there about actually, if you overindulge your kids,
they don't have the skills and discipline to manage the wealth.
The hunger.
Yeah.
They don't have the aspiration.
The respect for it.
And there's a generational gap and the respect for money that actually you end up being really sort of different in your attitudes towards money. Our attitudes towards money are shaped around the age of 7 to 11. Really young, really young. And I think about my own kids here. My kids have never had to wait for a TV show. They've never been cold. They've never, to my knowledge, been hungry. And I just think the contrast, even though I grew up in Tooting in the 1980s, it wasn't that bad, is extraordinary. And I'm like, how do I teach them the value of money? Because the friction that I had isn't there.
Yeah. That was a clip from our conversation with Dr. Eliza Philby, where we spoke about the importance of the Bank of Mum and Dad in the UK. You can watch the full episode right here.